Hello, today we're going to be talking about tarot, basics of tarot. Do you need to be given some tarot deck from the mystical people in the woods, as I've heard some random people on the internet claiming, or can you just buy one on Amazon? Let's talk about that. First, what is tarot? Generally speaking, tarot is a 78 card deck that was popularized by the mystical order, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. That is where we get the Rider-Waite from. If you are talking about the Marseille deck comes from France, and it was taken by the Golden Dawn, and they turned it into what was effectively a list of meanings, and then A.E. Waite commissioned Pamela Cole Smith to create these tarot cards that we now know and love today. It's an interesting thing to note that, if I remember correctly, Pamela Cole Smith is the one who created all of the symbolism and iconography. Waite basically just gave her prompts and didn't really go through anything, so all the colors are Pamela Cole Smith. So she's the one that we have to thank for all of modern tarot, basically. Her wonderful drawings and her wonderful illustrations. Now, there are multiple different kinds of tarot decks. There are tarot decks made by, based in the Rider-Waite style, carrying on that kind of tradition and that kind of style of tarot. There's also the Thoth deck. The Thoth deck was created by Aleister Crowley. It is a much more symbolic, and personally, I find the Thoth tarot to be significantly easier for spiritual divination. So, anything I need about mundane matters, I find that the Rider-Waite is easier to read. The Thoth tarot is more of a pain to read. Except for spiritual matters. If I'm asking a question about spiritual matters, I will most likely crack open the Thoth deck if it's important enough. Just because it's a different tool. And that's another thing. People like to give their tarot decks personalities. I don't. I think it's a tool. It's kind of an extension of you. You don't need anything to divine anything. You can, as I've talked about previously, just scry it. But tarot is a tool, and tools are used to make your life easier. You don't want to go into a construction site when you need a hammer, and you don't have a hammer. You want to use a hammer. You can use a rock, but hammers are significantly better. And if you need to pull a nail out, you want a hammer with the hooks. You want a hook hammer. I think it's actually called a claw hammer, but, whatever. This metaphor is getting away from me. The point is, if you have the right tool for the right job, it makes things significantly easier. This is why I use the Thoth tarot primarily for spiritual readings, because that's kind of what it was designed for. That's kind of what Crowley designed it for. The Rider-Waite tarot was more given as a general purpose tarot deck, and that's what I find it to be useful for. Now, interestingly enough, you will hear some people, depending on where you go on the internet, will tell you some nonsense about you need to be given your first tarot deck. This is some woo-woo, new agey nonsense. You can go to Amazon. In fact, if you go to Amazon, you will be given your first tarot deck by the UPS man, or the FedEx guy, or the postman. You will be given your first tarot deck by somebody. Now, I don't know where this came from. I don't care to find out. I think it's stupid, and it's probably some weird nonsense that somebody told one person to grift them, to be like, oh yeah, you need to be given your first tarot deck here, right? And it's like one of those things that those weird, sketchy occult teachers say to, fuck with their students, because they're not actually really good occult teachers. They're just trying to, fuck with people and, use them for various nefarious means. I don't know where that came from, but I'm going to tell you right now, you can go to Amazon and you can buy your own tarot deck. That is totally fine. If you can't, for whatever reason, go to Amazon and buy tarot decks, maybe you don't have enough privacy to own a tarot deck. Maybe your family is super Christian, and they'll be like, why are you playing with the devil's playing cards? You can go ahead and use online tarot, as long as you're not getting your phone snooped on, right? I would recommend, I have seen in the past, there is at least one tarot website I'm aware of where they don't actually do a proper they don't do a proper shuffling. They don't actually, like, shuffle anything, and they don't have any, like, because you can simulate shuffling things on a computer. They don't have anything like that, and they just go ahead and they just give you a tarot card based on a question you ask, and if you ask that question, they'll give you the same tarot card if you ask the same question over and over and over again. It's kind of a pain in the ass. And the reason I mention that is because I highly recommend, if you're just starting out with tarot and you are a person who is beholden to the book, if you really enjoy books, read the tarot book. Every tarot deck comes with a book. Go read some meanings online. Go read the meanings. Learn and kind of understand the standard meanings. And then I recommend you get rid of the book. I know a popular way is burning it. I personally think burning it's pretty powerful message to yourself. I don't recommend burning books, but I do recommend burning pamphlets. And if you are going to be going through and you're going to read tarot, every time you look at the tarot deck and you grab the little pamphlet in the beginning where it tells you all the meanings, you're a pamphlet reader. You're not reading tarot. You're reading a book. You're reading a book, and it's basically like a choose-your-own-adventure type thing instead of an actual divination. Which kind of sucks. I mean, you can use tarot that way, but it's kind of weak, right? It's kind of wimpy. That's not how you get good readings. You want to be able to read the cards, and you want to be able to scare the shit out of somebody with how accurate your tarot deck is. You want to be able to pull the cards out, lay down 3 cards, and be like, your life is like this, this, and this. And then you just want to have them go, holy shit, how did you know that? And you go, because I'm a tarot reader. That's what I do, right? Or, as I personally like to say, because I'm a wizard. It's my job to know these things. Because I know I'm full of shit, and that's how that's going to go. Anyways, last major thing you need to know about tarot, other than you should be meditating on the cards in order to get the meanings after you're done pamphlet reading, is spreads. Tarot spreads are things you can find online. There are, quite frankly, too fucking many tarot spreads, and I'm going to recommend you do something radically different from what other people will probably recommend. I'm going to recommend you get 1 or 2 spreads that you like really well. You get 2. And then you add the simple 3-card spread, which is you take the top 3 cards, 1, 2, 3. That's it. If you want to get fancy, you can put them in different orders, but effectively that's what you're going to do. Now, when you're doing a spread like this, you don't need a big fancy spread unless you are an empathic tarot reader, which anyone who's watching this video, if you're not already an empathic tarot reader, you're not going to be one for at least a while, so you might as well learn how to do the spreads, right? And it's not like the tarot spreads are hard, it's literally 3 cards. You're going to get that 3-card spread, and you're going to get 2 more spreads. You're going to get 1 for big questions, and you're going to get 1 for should I do X or Y. And those are the only 3 tarot spreads you need to learn for the beginning of your practice. It's really simple. If you want, you can make it so that you're, you can do a 3-card for one reading, for one option, as part of that should I do this or that reading. You could do a 3-card for one and a 3-card for the other. And you just pull from the same deck. You pull from the same deck after you shuffled, and you put one after the other, right? This, that, right? It's kind of like it's kind of like that weird childhood game of she loves me not, that thing with the flower. It's kind of like that, but you're using tarot cards, and the tarot cards have meaning, unlike a flower petal. There are hundreds of tarot spreads, and you need 3 in your entire beginning practice. You can get more later on. You only need 3 when you're starting out. You don't need to overwhelm yourself like that. I highly recommend you don't overwhelm yourself, because that kind of sucks, and it makes you want to practice less. Alright? You don't want to go through, and you don't want to overwhelm yourself with a bunch of tarot spreads. You also don't want to overwhelm yourself with a bunch of nonsense. You just want to learn the cards when you're starting out, and you don't want to be overwhelmed. Read the packet. Read the pamphlet that comes in the book, or in the deck. Read the meanings of the cards. Get a basic understanding of the cards. And choose, are you going to read reverse cards, Or are you not going to read reverse cards? Some decks don't allow reversed cards. I know the Thoth Tarot doesn't allow reversed cards, and I think reverse cards kind of suck, to be honest. I think reverse cards are kind of pointless. If I need more meanings, I will pair the cards, which is I draw 2 cards for one meaning, or I draw 2 cards for one place instead of 1. So if I'm doing a basic 3-card reading, I suddenly have 6 cards, and I'm reading them in pairs, right? And then I'm reading, well, how does the Sun and the 3 of Swords interact? Or how does the Moon and the 4 of Cups interact in this meaning, or in this spread? And I have to read it, and it's more complicated. But I don't recommend you do that at the beginning, right? I don't recommend you do that at the beginning, and I think that, honestly, if you're starting out, don't worry about reversals. Don't do reversals. By and large, you shouldn't be worrying about reversals if you are just learning tarot, alright? I think that's all I have for today. If you're watching this on Patreon, thank you for watching. If you are watching this on YouTube, Patreon link in the description for early access to my future content.